Hello and welcome. Recently on my channel I uploaded a video where I decided to take a supercar, an Australian supercar, up the side of a thumping big hill, and that hill was the Pikes Peak hill climb. I'm back here today, only I decided it might be fun to try out an old supercar, or at least back then they were called a touring car. And I mean a particularly famous one. This is Peter Brock's V8 Commodore. It is around about 1,200 kilos, just shy of that. It has 401 brake horsepower, about 430 newton meters of torque. So the thing's a monster. It's from the 80s. It doesn't handle particularly well. It has a huge amount of horsepower. It will actually do 270 plus kilometers an hour. So believe me, this is not going to be an easy trip up the mountain. So I've changed the gearing to make it as short as I possibly can. Which is good for hill climbs. The best compounded tyre I can actually use is Slick Softs from the 90s. So they're not exactly the grippiest things. They don't have too much fuel. Everything else is pretty standard. Okay, so here we are at the start-finish line. Let's find out how this goes. No shortage of wheel spin there off the line. Now this is where I must admit I wish I owned a manual gear selector. I am still blipping the throttle and lifting for the gear changes, but the paddle shift just doesn't feel right when you're using a classic car like this. Doesn't really pay homage to the great Peter Brock as much as you would like. Oh, can't get on the brakes too hard. You can see the back end just step out there. Just got to try and keep it together. Believe it or not, the bottom of the Pikes Peak hill climb, this is the easy part. It gets more complex. And I'm going to be dealing with a hell of a lot of oversteer. Oh, it's an interesting one. Oh, you can see how you basically steer this car from the back end. Makes up for the oodles of understeer you get. I think this is even harder to drive than the modern supercar. That thing at least handles very well. This thing's old school muscle. There's a corner here somewhere. There it is. Again, I'm still no expert at the Pikes Peak hill climb, but I'm going to have to concentrate. But yeah, I've never bothered to buy a manual gear selector because I really don't use them very much. But it is times like this where I do wish I had one. Well, that wasn't too bad, was it? I can feel that I've got my concentration eyes on because they're drying up. There's the first hairpin done, and I'd suggest that's how this is going to go most of the way up if I don't fall off the edge. Oh, just hung on to it. Just give it a little dab of throttle. Oh, that's a lot. That was a lot of oversteer though. That was a little bit more than I bargained for, but again, I tell you what, I don't like my chances of doing this on my first attempt. Whew, I'm working. You've just got to be so gentle on the throttle. Get a bit of speed up here. And absolutely nothing went wrong there at all. So we're going to continue on with this, the very first lap. That is a deceptive corner, that one. That really is negative camber. You don't really get a lot of signage. Part of Pikes Peak is that you actually have to really try and learn the track, which I'm still very much doing. But laps like this are not so much about the lap time as much as just making it. Now, I know this is a deceptive double right-hander because you start to wind the throttle on and then it actually gets a little bit tighter. Hang on to it. As the sun is shining through there, looks... Oh, I tell you what. I'd almost have to start again. Not that I've started again already. Trying to take it a little bit easier on those hairpins. Didn't really go very well, did it? Definitely feel like I'm having to cling on to this car. It's less, I'm not really driving this car as much as hanging on for the ride and just hoping it agrees with the general direction I want to go. Right, flat through here. Fourth, probably geared up a little bit too much. There's that wall. I nearly slapped that in the supercar last time out. I've kept a bit more room that time. Look at that, nice and gentle. It's as if I'm learning, isn't it? You know what, you couldn't see the gear shift anyway, so if I just made the motion when I changed gears, you wouldn't have known anyway. Okay, we're starting to get up in the hill now. This corner is somewhat terrifying because it's just that long sweeping right-hander, but trying to pull it up from this speed in this car, as soon as I see that big lock up, but you know what? I'll take that. Now this is the one that isn't a hair. It's the only Armco corner that isn't an actual hairpin on the way up the mountain. Another lock up. Not too concerned about it. Trick is just to try and get the front doing the right thing on the way in the corner, and then use the rear end of the car to try and tighten your trajectory. Because if you get on the throttle too much, too early, it brings the back of the car around much before you'd want it to. Because there's so many bumps and dips in the middle of those corners. Does sound very angry, doesn't it? It's quite a nice mod, this one, actually. You just got to get the front pointed in there, and literally you can just, okay, this is the corner I've got to be careful of. It's very easy. Slip off the side of the mountain there. I mean, you can see I left the pedals on this time. So yeah, you can have a bit of an idea of what sort of throttle work I'm having to do and how gentle I'm applying the throttle out of some of these corners. This is where it gets scary up through here because you're holding a bit of pace. And there's nothing more disappointing than getting to the top and then flinging it off the side of a mountain. I think this is the second gear. It is. Oh, very lively backhand. Ooh, and who doesn't like a lively backhand, eh? Just Slow that down. I think this is another spot I regularly fall off, so let's take it nice and easy. Fourth is geared very high, isn't it? It's a very long gear. Fuel light has come on. Hopefully I've got enough to get to the end. I only put 20 litres in it. There's a muscle Brocky's big Commodore. Don't fall off there, don't fall off there, don't. And luckily I didn't fall off there because I took it nice and gentle, knowing full well. See, like that one I went in. Oh, good grief. Sorry about that, people. Don't mind, mate. We're all good, we're going. Trick is not to get complacent and get too carried away into some of these final corners, because this is where you will just fly off the side. Luckily we've got it gathered up all in the first go. I'm going to take it nice and easy here because this looks terrifying, approaching a blind corner of unknown radius when you can't see anything in the background. This particular hairpin coming up, this is an absolute doozy. I think I mentioned this in the supercar and then maybe still hit it still. Watch the pace out. Oh. There's a lot of dirt on that corner for some reason. But you can see just how slippery it is. I mean, just by turning in it brings the back end around. There's got to be another hairpin here somewhere surely. There it is. I knew it was here somewhere. You can see I'm just taking it super cautious because it's just all about getting this done on my very first attempt. Oh, I thought I pushed it too hard, but I think we've done it. We've done it, people. And across the line. Into the jump. So we'll have a quick look at the time. 11 minutes, 20 seconds. Not exactly good, but that wasn't exactly a good lap either. And I think if you wanted to try a bit harder, you would, maybe not do so much drifting and just try and ease the throttle on. Anyway, I had a good time. Hopefully you had a good time as well. An awesome car. Peter Brock was an awesome driver. R.I.P. Peter. And hopefully you enjoyed it. Please leave a like, hit subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.